Hey, this is Kevin Jackson. First, welcome to Digital Transformers, but this is not your typical DT episode. Last week, we dropped a really interesting edition of Digital Business on LinkedIn. The article introduced a partnership between Panasonic, IBM, Simba Chain, and Constellation Network to debut a United States Department of Defense vetted blockchain of blockchains in a global hackathon. This fully virtual event is free to enter and runs from July 15th until September 9th, 2024. A total of $100,000 equivalent in Constellation Network's cryptocurrency will be distributed to the winners. In this episode of Digital Transformers, we're sharing a portion of my conversation with Dagnum PI and Court Welty about this unique digital transformation of the US DoD. Enjoy.
Welcome to Digital Transformers, the show that connects you with what you need to build, manage, and operate your digital supply chain. Join your host in a timely discussion on new and future business models with industry-leading executives. The show will reveal global customer expectations, real-world deployment challenges, and the value of advanced business technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and robotic process engineering. And now, we bring you Digital Transformers.
I think one of them, who is Dagnum PI?
Yeah. So I'm Dagnum online. That's what everybody knows me as. And how I got that name, Dagnum, is it's a play off of Magnum PI.
Who knew that?
Yeah. And I found Constellation through somebody at work, actually. I was the kind of go-to guy at work for latest stock insights, talking about up and coming opportunities that a lot of people might not be aware of. Like I was talking about Palantir, for example, before that became mainstream. I had been following Palantir for a long time because of what they're doing with automation and AI. That's where everything is currently driving. And, I just think that it's important for people to not really follow the mainstream narrative, but be aware of all this cool stuff and opportunity that's happening all around. And it was actually me talking about Palantir that this coworker of mine said, well, if you really like that stuff, wait till you find out about this company, Constellation. And they have this thing called the hypergraph. And he just briefly described what they're doing and what they're doing with the military. And it was like a record scratch. I was like, wait a minute. So they have a cryptographically secure internet protocol, essentially. And he said, yes. And the rest is history. Like I spent an entire weekend. I read every white paper. I watched every video that they had. And my mind was blown. And then so I went online and I saw what people were talking about socially, because I said, man, this is crazy. This is revolutionary technology. If even a fraction of what they're talking about comes to fruition, like this is it. This is a game changer. And I noticed that not a lot of people were talking about it for whatever reason. And so that's where Dagnum was born.
But you became a Constellation guru from that sort of short experience and intense weekend.
Yeah. Because I just wanted people to be aware of this amazing technology, and not only be aware of it, but I wanted to explain why, because that was the why was kind of lost on a lot of people, and how this technology is going to translate into adoption. Because a lot of this stuff is super technical, and one of the things that I like to do is kind of dumb it down for everybody, and simplify things, just so people have a broader understanding of how things are going to work.
So, Court, how did you hear about Constellation? Because I mean, you are leveraging this technology in a fairly unique way, right? Let's tell us a bit about yourself and Entrana.
Yeah, so I found out first about Constellation, funnily enough, through my father. He was like, "Hey, have you heard of some of the more Department of Defense related cryptocurrency DLT companies?" And I hadn't at first. I didn't know that the U.S. government would even consider using something like blockchain, but it's a no-brainer when you really get into the nitty-gritty of it, because cryptography is one of the key features of national security as a whole. Without it, we can't really be protected. And so I ran into Constellation through kind of just, outside conversations, tertiary conversations. And I had started, this company to be able to create interoperability and apply this technology inside of traditional finance and other parts of enterprise, just all across the world inside of America, so that we can find efficiencies. I was a financial advisor before this, a broker before that, a day trader before that. And really the last straw inside of that traditional finance world for me was when COVID hit. I was running my practice at Merrill, and while I was doing best efforts to transfer a couple $100 million over to Merrill, we immediately had a pandemic. The SBA contacted all of the people that were advising at Merrill and asked to help distribute funds for the Paycheck Protection Program. And, in such a short period of time, obviously these programs aren't going to be perfect. But when I started to use these systems, connect to IRS databases, be able to pull what people had filed, what their history was, if they'd filed 1065, et cetera, it was very difficult to understand, because we were using so many pieces, and I had access to everything. So many pieces of technology, so many different programs, so many inefficiencies. And I'd been in, blockchain since about 2010, 2009. And I'd been, curious, interested, been building some things, but I hadn't actually applied what I knew in a way that I knew could, apply to the masses. And when I saw what happened, the way that some of the funds, were abused by folks that abused the program, I knew that there had to be a better way. So we kind of started working, got in touch with Quant, and if anybody doesn't know who Quant is, they help make ACH, ISO 222, TC 307. They're wonderful people, and they helped me with my architecture. And then I got in touch with Altif, and that's kind of just how we kept going. We stumbled forward into the position that we're in, and we're very lucky to have run into Constellation, because that technology, not only is it infinitely horizontally scalable, but it is incredibly powerful, and it's secure, and it's something that can be applied in a scalable way that really will help a lot of people once it's all said and done.
So you were actually working in finance and fiat, and you saw this digital stuff as a better and safer way of dealing with money. That sounds sort of oxymoronic, huh? Is that true?
At first, one would think, and a lot of it has to do with the original way that I guess Bitcoin, Ethereum was expressed and used. There was a lot of illicit activity, a lot of illegitimate activity and business propositions that left a lot of people damaged, but that doesn't inherently make the technology invaluable. And when you start to really look at the way that we currently deal with the financial system, brokerages are holding all that data in siloed data lakes. Financial advisories are holding data lakes at, and communicating with this tertiary advisor, broker, and doing trades here or there. There's so many different contact points that when you really start to reflect on why we did it in the first place, it was because when we had stock certificates Sometimes they would catch on fire. Sometimes people would lose them. They could be stolen. That's why, the wagon trains would be, robbed back in the day in the Wild West because they wanted those stock certificates, And so if we can get back to self-custody, which is what everybody wants, but allow a way for those traditional businesses that exist that provide valuable services to be able to communicate with the folks that are self-custodying it without having to go through the I carry my self-custody stock certificate 1,000 miles to be able to sell it to somebody else. It really brings us back to that old tribalistic form of trade, value transfer, but with controls that can still provide that security and that infrastructure that we're used to and that we rely upon.
Well, that's a kind of a unique way to get into cryptocurrency. But Dagnum, can I call you Dagnum?
Yeah.
You were so focused on, how did you get so focused on digital currency? I mean, you were just something you were interested in? Were you trading or what?
I mean, this to me was an easy transition to the stuff that I was already interested in.
Okay.
I was already interested in data analytics, AI, automation, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But I wasn't really aware that blockchain was being used for applications like this until somebody pointed out what Constellation was doing. I had kind of followed, like Bitcoin and whatnot, but I wasn't really too deep into the woods with distributed ledger technology. It just wasn't really on my radar, and this really opened the door to me, and it was an easy transition. And I mean, if you really think about everything that's going on right now with technology and with the exponential rise in all of this data, the use of blockchain is inevitable, really. I mean, how many data breaches have we seen in the past month? And there's going to be a time where most of these businesses aren't really going to have a choice, and especially now with the rise of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, trusted, verifiable data is going to be paramount. I mean, how are you going to be able to trust the AI model that you're using?
So this isn't really about Bitcoin. It really isn't about cryptocurrency. You sound like this is about business. So how should a business person view cryptocurrency or crypto securities or this whole technology space? Why should it be a part of a business strategy?
Yeah, I personally think that it should be part of a business strategy because it can help what they're already doing. By they don't even have to change any of their business models, right? So they can literally plug in the same systems that they're already using, and you can do this with Constellation's stack. Because a lot of these businesses, they spend tens of millions of dollars, some of these people, on these applications that they use, and upgrading these systems like company-wide is kind of a big deal. So a lot of people, even the Department of Defense, I think that was one of the criterias for them to be able to use this, is they didn't want to do anything with the systems that they already had. And a lot of these systems that are being used by the Department of Defense are trusted systems. They've been using them for a long time, and the reason why that they use them is because they know that they work. So they're not going to upgrade to something new. But what blockchain can do is it can run in parallel with the systems that you're already using by just adding an additional security layer and offloading a lot of that work.
So Court, you're a business and you're leveraging blockchain and this DAG, but you're actually doing it in a sort of a different way. Tokenization. So what is tokenization and what is its relationship to this whole crypto thing?
Tokenization has been one of the hot topics of the year. Real world assets. Before that, it was all NFTs and stuff. Now we're getting more into the true application. And what tokenization is actually an old practice. Even when we go to different sites like Plaid, people are given a token that represents something. In that case, it's that they've passed the KYC or AML. Then other programs, every business can go and check if they have that token from them. And it allows them to say, yes, we have passed that. They have been cleared through our money laundering programs, and we know who our client is, and we know who their clients are. Now, in the same way, we express and reflect the existence of assets on the internet, on our apps, in a bunch of different ways. And nobody really knows what those underlying programs, what type of data is. They just know the numbers are there, they're expressing them. Tokenization is a way to make sure that the numbers that are in your wallet can't be taken away or disappear because the bank that is showing you those numbers goes under. Tokenization is a way for you to take assets and create a digital clone of those assets in a way that represents that ownership, proof of authenticity, or the actual expression of the asset without physical custody online. So like stocks or bonds or different types of real estate certificates, right? And tokenization is so important because it brings us back to the days where, maybe people put money under their mattress because they were afraid of banks under, And as we start to see the metrics really build, we're seeing unemployment rise, we're seeing interest rates across the world have drastic changes. The Bank of Japan is dumping treasuries. They just changed their interest rates for the first time ever. And we're seeing a lot of turmoil in financial markets, a lot of liquidation events, and a lot of businesses going under due to insufficient security or older practices that no longer work. And as we grow, tokenization is a way for us to give power back to the people. I think for too long, through this boon of technology, we've seen multi-billion-dollar technocratic, I guess not monopolies, but almost come after large segments of market share for particular services, products, use cases. And they've been able to do so because there was no other option. Now there is. And because of that, the people can now start to participate or keep some of that service handling and money that they were paying for that for themselves. It also increases security for the businesses and the individuals, governments that choose to use this type of tokenization. It doesn't matter what blockchain you're on. It doesn't matter what bank you use. You can go and tokenize your assets, self-custody them, but still be able to interact with everything in the same way. It removes that layer of dependency on those third parties, those middlemen, banks or brokerages holding those assets, so that they only touch them when you want to liquidate or when you want to start to actually trade, as opposed to you being exposed to that risk element for the entirety of you holding that asset, which is a huge plus in any of the opinions that of the people that I've spoken to so far.
What we have in place right now has been around, and this is what we know. This is what we have trusted. But you're saying this new approach to finance is better? How can you convince people that it's actually better, or why should people believe that it's actually better?
We're seeing the effects of businesses not adopting this technology through and through. We're seeing the entire economy being affected by hacks, cyber breaches, leaks of information. We're also seeing massive instances of pig butchering, abuses of our citizens for financial gain of, illicit third parties. And most of the time they're working in decentralized command structures. There are people that are trying to destroy the financial infrastructure of America. We have enemies. That's the way it goes. The reason that people shouldn't be so scared of this new tech is that we're not changing the way that we do business. We're not changing the way that we sell stocks. We're not changing banks. We're changing the way that we express our money and the way that we trade it, the way that we send it, the way that we protect it. We're adding a shield over everything. It doesn't change anything that people are used to. Traditional finance works. conservative metrics, income funds, mutual funds, like there are time-tested ways for us to create value and participate in ownership of companies or diversified ownership of companies that historically have done really well and help protect people. And there's ways to do that are very responsible. We don't want people to go and completely change everything. We aren't changing math. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're making the wheel bulletproof so that if somebody comes along the way and tries to shoot it out, you can keep driving. And that's really why, I think blockchain put a bad taste in people's mouth at first, is because there were so many rug pulls, so many scams. But it was because of the application of the technology was incorrect, not because the technology is invaluable. Ideally, and when Intrana is up, when Constellation starts to launch their metagraphs and we see more companies come, you won't know that you're using this technology. It will just be working in parallel in the background to protect you. And really, the responsibility lies upon the businesses to help introduce, as well as governments, to help introduce this technology to protect people, provide efficiencies for those organizations, but also for the people to adopt it so that they can protect themselves.
Wow, I mean that's really impressive. And Dagnum, coming sort of back to you, with the DoD deciding to use Constellation, and clearly Court thinks that or sees it as a way of protecting assets while you're expressing them in a more, I guess, transparent way. So why? What makes Constellation different? Why is it so special? Why did the DoD select it? Why is Intrana leveraging it to sort of change the entire financial system?
Yeah, one of the beauties of Constellation's technology, like I was describing earlier, is you can integrate it directly with the tech stack that you already have. So you don't have to replace anything. But what you're doing is you're adding an additional layer of security, because one of the beauties of distributed ledger technology or blockchain, I'm just going to call it blockchain for all the non token adapt people, but Constellation's actually, their technology is built on a directed acyclic graph. So it's not a blockchain, but this is one of the reasons why the Department of Defense picked this technology. One of the beauties of Constellation and their technology is being able to integrate it directly with your tech stack. And this, like I was alluding to earlier, was one of the requirements for the Department of Defense, because they don't want to have to upgrade any of their systems. The addition of adding a cryptographic secure network adds that additional layer of security. The advantage with Constellation, though, is they're not technically a blockchain. Their technology is a directed acyclic graph. And so in doing so, it can scale horizontally. I mean, theoretically, it could go on infinitely. All you have to do is just add more nodes to the network. And in doing that, it actually makes it even more secure. And right now, one of the big things is being able to be quantum resistant. We have quantum computers hitting the next, I mean, they're on the open market right now. And so it's really important, not only for the Department of Defense, but for any small to medium-sized business to have quantum resistant technology. And Constellation's technology is actually quantum resistant technology. So in a way, when you're utilizing this technology, you're already future-proofing yourself in a sense.
So this is really, I think, an important aspect of it, because this additional layer can protect your business as you move forward against these quantum hackers, so to speak. And speaking about hackers, you guys are actually inviting hackers to test this out, right? So is
Yeah.
this what you're doing in the hackathon? Aren't you afraid they're going to break through?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So the other thing that I'm involved with is Stardust Collective. So this
Okay.
is like the community-run aspect of the network. So we have our own treasury, and part of what we're doing with that treasury to hopefully expand and grow the ecosystem is we're helping fund this hackathon. And
Okay.
what we're hoping to accomplish with this hackathon is the adoption of this technology. And so the hackathon is actually partnered by IBM, Panasonic, and Symbichain. I mean, those are huge, reputable businesses. Not a lot of people might be aware of Symbichain, but Symbichain is another blockchain company, and they work directly with the Department of Defense, which adds even more legitimacy to what Constellation is bringing. But let's talk about IBM and Panasonic. I mean, those are two huge corporations that I think everybody on the planet recognizes.
Yeah.
And so, what we're hoping to accomplish with this is the developer community being aware of this technology. I mean, not a lot of people are aware maybe that this network is actually open right now for public use. The majority of the people that are aware of Constellation are aware of the fact of the partnerships and involvement with the Department of Defense, but not a lot of people are aware that this same application, this same technology that's verified and validated, trusted by the Department of Defense can actually be used for any small to medium-sized business or huge corporations like Panasonic.
Geez, this is really coming from left field. The government actually using, blockchain, and these companies like IBM and Panasonic, like you said, this is front page news, but I haven't seen it on the front page. So, Court, what does this hackathon mean to you? Are you afraid it's going to break your whole strategy?
No, no, we look forward to the hackathon being over, being able to show what we've done. There's a lot of really cool things happening in the background. One of the neat things that I'm doing, there's a man named Ryan Wallerstein, and he's an old Department of Homeland Security guy. But after he stopped that, he founded a company called Illicit Edge, and we have a wonderful partnership with them. They're doing some marketing for us, but also Tabalo, who is one of the old architects at Oracle. He has Yeatum now. Tabalo and I are working on an immutable news module with Illicit Edge, and we're very excited about that. One of the purposes of it is to be able to take anything that is put out on the internet and actually create a token so that people can open mint that, put it in their wallet, and create a collection of the news stories. It also creates a lot of a trail of accountability for those that put out the news. We're not going to guarantee that what is out there is accurate, but we are going to guarantee that we know who said it, when they said it, and they're not going to be able to delete it. So making news permanent for forever is a very important thing in our opinion. Another cool thing that we're doing at the hackathon module that we'll be introducing, the Professional Grappling Federation. It was founded by Brandon McCaffern, and we have a good relationship with them. I do 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So he owns 10th Planet Alabama Decatur, but he started PGF. So they're on UFC Fight Pass. They have about 6 seasons under their belt. We're on the 7th season. They do it with the Gracies and, Eddie Bravo and Joe Rogan. And so we'll be making a fantasy app to be able to show kind of a more public-facing way for us to use the metagraphs with a business that is already very successful, just tying in technology. So sooner rather than later, you'll be able to go and see, in Toronto on the UFC Fight Pass and be able to use our app and engage with metagraph in that way as well.
Wow, a lot of big things coming down. What's the future for Intrana. I understand you have some new products you're launching as well.
Yes. So we have the tokenization engine that we've done with the NDF. That is nonprofit. We don't think the expression of the US dollar should be in the control of somebody that's making money off of that. That's how you make the first trillionaire. That's not a good idea. But with Intrana, we are coming out with our modules, our platform. You know, anybody that wants to be able to use metagraphs or DLT blockchain technology, but you don't have money to go and get $100,000, $200,000 development team, we're going to have modules ready for you and your enterprise so that you can come plug in a couple lines of code, be able to use your existing database in a way that's new, fresh, more efficient, saves you money, saves you time, and provides your workers the tools that they need to do their jobs better. We can provide some advanced analytics for some of the more complex features like brokerages, banks, advisories, but we can get down to the nitty gritty of just like payroll or time management for employees. So the sky's really the limit. We're looking forward to launching. We're in the middle of testing right now. Got to do a couple updates because of the changes on Constellation Network, but luckily it's not too much code. So we're looking forward to the end of the NDF work groups so that we can kind of bring forward to the powers that be the things that we've made. We think that they're very powerful, very effective. And we're really looking forward to launching the platform because when we do, we'll start to see people on board be able to tokenize not only their US dollars, but all of their assets. And hopefully in that way, we can cushion a large portion of the population from a potential catastrophe that could happen in the future.
That's amazing. And Dagnum, what's new with the metagraph? What's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things actually was just announced the other day with they're changing the tokenomics, and one of the interesting things that they're doing is they're allowing these things called delegators, and so what that'll do is that'll open up anybody that's holding DAG to essentially take that and delegate their stake to validators. But not only validators, you can actually do that to a metagraph. So you can do that so metagraphs are layer one networks that are built on top of Constellation's hypergraph. And so what you can do is you can actually stake your bandwidth to these layer one networks. And that is really going to be a game changer because for a lot of reasons. One of the things that it actually is going to open up is a potential person who wants to build a layer one network. You could essentially crowdfund, in a sense, people's bandwidth, and then it doesn't require any capital from you as a business. Or even like I was talking about earlier, like a huge company like Panasonic. So during the announcement from Constellation themselves talking about this new mechanism, Benjamin Diggles was describing this meeting that he had with Panasonic. And Panasonic, we don't know yet, but essentially Panasonic is exploring how to integrate its existing product line to metagraphs. So Panasonic is one of the world's largest, IoT makers, and we can kind of get an idea of essentially of what that would look like by something that's already existing on Constellation's network right now with the door. So the door traffic miner is a little IoT sensor, and it tracks foot traffic. And it's good for businesses because it gives them valuable insights into who's coming to their store. And it takes that data and it bundles it up into a snapshot and it submits it to the ledger. So it's a really simple use case. And right now there's about 3,000 of those miners online. But when you're talking about a huge enterprise like Panasonic integrating its existing sensors or products. Panasonic makes TVs. They also make cameras. Cameras could be integrated into a Metagraph. I mean, you're talking about way more than 3,000 sensors. I mean, we're talking, something potentially like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of sensors coming online.
So let me get this straight. Every IoT device, you could actually mine the bandwidth and the data associated with that bandwidth on the Metagraph, and then provide immutable data about what's happening or being tracked with that IoT device. Is that right?
Yes, yes. And not only that, but when you have enough people delegating and staking DAG onto your layer one network, you not only could have the cost be zero, but you could actually make money. So if enough people delegated and staked their DAG on the Panasonic network, for example, Panasonic could actually make money from this. And then how that would translate to the end user is, in turn, you could have people get discounts on products, special rewards, or even if they were, for example, to do a token, you could even get like a token in return. So to go back to the Door Metagraph,
Yeah.
Door does have a token, and if enough people stake, their DAG on the Door Metagraph, you could, potentially get Door as a reward for staking your bandwidth, which is DAG, on their Metagraph.
This could be huge. So how could someone get in touch with you to learn more about how they could actually leverage this new capability from Constellation Network?
The easiest way is to go to Constellation's website, constellationnetwork.io. They also have a Telegram, which you can find on the website, and a Discord.
This is a new world, and Court, with all the things that you're doing and the new services and products, it's going to save us all from the future collapse of the global finance system. How could somebody reach out to you to learn more about Intrana and the value of tokenization?
So go to our website, intrana.io. You can also just email me, al at intrana.io. I respond pretty quick, but we do ask no NFT projects and that kind of thing. But anybody else, we love to chat. And I do want to say thank you very much, Kevin. This has been an excellent chat. And I do want to mention the NDF just one more time. If you do want to get in touch with us, but let's say you don't have the money to go and pay us, you can join the NDF. I'm not sure if joining is still happening now, but please look into what they're doing. There's a lot of good work groups you can join for free, and it's a good way to get your company involved in kind of the leading edge of what we're doing and what blockchain and technology is becoming.
No, that's great, and the NDF is an excellent way to learn more about Constellation and Metagraph and get involved with the future. And so thank you both for spending the time to speak and provide such insight into the future.
Thanks again for having us. I mean, and this is next level stuff. And if you want a window into what's happening on the hypergraph, I've said it many times online, go to the National DigiFoundry. That is a perfect window because it's an incubator is what it is. And so if you want an idea of the future of tokenization and digital assets beyond just cryptocurrencies, because there's a whole world of blockchain beyond cryptocurrencies, look at National DigiFoundry.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for supporting Digital Transformers and for being a part of our global Supply Chain Now community. Please check out all of our programming at supplychainnow.com. Make sure you subscribe to Digital Transformers anywhere you listen to or view the show, and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next time on Digital Transformers.